This lure is one of the hottest bass fishing techniques in Japan right now, and it's slowly coming over to the USA, and it has been an absolute bass slayer for me this season. So I want to walk you through the color options, how to rig the thing, what I fish it on, and 5 ways that I have been killing it on it. And so a lot of which I couldn't find in any other video out there. This is a heavy plastic bait from Yamamato baits, some of the best baits out there, soft plastics in my opinion. Essentially it looks like an upside down bowling pin, which is kind of ridiculous, but it comes in 8 different colors. This is the green pumpkin black fleck, which is my absolute favorite and my go-to. And it comes in 2 different sizes. So this is a 3.5 inch, and it also comes in a 2.5 inch. People have referred to this as like a power Ned. I completely disagree. The fall on this is completely different. And of course, I don't fish it weighted. I think it has an absolute incredible flutter fall. The weight of the 3.5 inch is 5/8 ounce, and the weight of the 2.5 is a 1/4 ounce. Now I rigged the 3.5 incher up on the Gamakatsu 5/0 extra wide gap hooks. These, in my opinion, are some of the best out there on the market. If you're rigging up the 2.5 inch, you're gonna need a 1/0 hook. I've watched other videos out there where they're rigging this up, and they're like, hey, use a 3/0 hook, use a 4/0 hook. Guys, in my opinion, that would be a mistake. A 3 or 4/0 hook, when you Texas rig this, would be not enough room. This is a lot. This is a real heavy, thick plastic bait, and you're gonna need a lot of room when you set that hook to kind of move all of this chunk of plastic down to be able to pin that bass on that hook tip. I just don't believe the 3 or 4/0 hook is gonna give you the gap that you need in order to do that. How you're gonna hook this up is you're gonna want to Texas rig this bad boy. It's really nice that on both sides of this lure, they have slits to be able to hide the hook, because it makes it weedless. And right now I'm fishing it, as you can see, guys, I'm in the middle of a ton of lily pads right now. Just kind of throwing it out, and I'm not getting it hooked up on much at all. And so really great design by Yamamoto there. Ooh, it hit. Oh, I think I got it. Oh, yeah, I got it. Yes, that girl. On the Yamamoto, folks. Got it in there. Chunk. 15 inch. Not a bad bass. So what I like about this bait is it has 2 slits, one down one side and you flip it over, one down the other side. Because what will happen is that when you hook a bass or get caught up on something or catch a couple fish, it'll rip out of the top here. And so you can just turn it around, flip on the other side, and get a kind of double life out of it. What I've also done is I hooked it in the sides that don't have slits, and I'd be able to hook up on bass that way as well. And then what I'll do is after I use kind of all 4 corners of this, and it's almost trash, I'll just take a bite out of the end and kind of create a new area where the hook didn't rip it out, and you can get like 4 more uses out of this. And I've been able to slam bass that way as well. So getting a little bit more yardage out of this bad boy by ripping off the top, because these I'll rip through a pack in the morning, and they're not super inexpensive. They're $1.25 a lure, but as a soft plastic, you can go through them pretty fast when the bite's hot. Just make sure if you're biting into that bad boy, have a coffee or something to drink, because man, these things are salty. Or you can just be a normal human being and use like a pair of scissors or something. All right, so I'm gonna show you what I kind of run this on. I have 17-pound fluorocarbon. This is Seagar and Vizek. You can use 20-pound, you can use 15-pound, but I think the sweet spot is right at 17. I have a Lew's Mach 2. This is a medium power, fast action. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, I'll throw a video, kind of the difference between power and action and how it impacts your fishing. So check that out in the description below. And then for the reel, I believe it's a 7-to-5-to-1. So every rotation of my reel, it is going to roll the spool over 7.5 times. So pretty fast, on the higher end. Really what I'm trying to do is once I hook that bass, get it up and away from these fish diving. And so picking up line as fast as I can is gonna help me do that. Now that I've shown you how to set this bad boy up, I'm gonna share with you the 5 ways I like to fish it. So one of the things I love with the Yamatanuki is being able to skip it. This thing skips really well. It's nice and heavy. I usually bring this out whenever there's a tree and there's limbs out over the water, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 feet. I'll skip this bad boy underneath. It has a nice waterfall, like I mentioned earlier, and man, the bass will crush it. Obviously great for other places you want to skip the lure, under docks, but at 5/8 ounce, this thing's gonna skip pretty good for you. Second way I like to fish this is whenever I see steep structure. So keep in mind, structure is, if you were to go online and type in topography map of your favorite lake, you'll get a bunch of contoured lines, and that is showing you the depth. So whenever you see a bunch of lines side by side, that means that it's steep there. And that's where I like to fish this bad boy, because it has a nice rate of fall. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll fish those steep edges, and they'll throw a wacky worm or something and kind of pop it across the edge when the fish are held up further down on that ledge. And so by fishing the Yamatanuki, you throw it out there, pull it out, let it fall a little bit, pull it out, let it fall a little bit, pull it out, let it fall a little bit, and get it right in front of the mouth of that LMB to make it an easy meal for them. Another thing I love to do with this is I love to throw it on shore, like right at shore, and start popping it out. And this thing has some pretty incredible action when you kind of get some short pops. It's very erratic, and this morning alone I was smashing bass using that technique. And then as you guys saw, I'm in the middle of lily pads. This is kind of a test for me. I was out here, the frog was not doing it for me, so I was like, you know what, the Yamatanuki is weedless, how about I throw this out and just kind of a relatively fast retrieve, just let this kick around on top of these lily pads. And man, because it has like a blunt, so you guys can see this, a blunt head, it'll get caught on the edges of the lilies, and this thing will like kick left and right, left and right. It really creates a lot of motion. Since the plane's going by, I'll go ahead, cast, see if I can get one. Throw it out on top of the lilies, start pulling it back, it starts kicking left and right, its tail's going all over the place, and the bass will just come out of the lilies and smash it. Also what I do, as you can see, there's a lot of holes behind me. So as I'm pulling it through the lilies, I'll pull it into a hole. It might even be the size, literally, of the bait. And I'll let it sit there, and it'll start to flutter, fall down. And a lot of times the bass will smash it there as well. So basically, a relatively fast retrieve over the lilies. Whenever I hit a spot of open water, I'll stop and let that fall. If I don't get a hit, I'll kind of pull it to the next hole and just continue to do that until I get to strike. So something else that I teach and I also do myself is the unconfidence lure. And so really what that means is that I'll always have some type of lure rigged up of one of my 6 lures in my kayak, and it's something that either I've never fished before, and I will not untie that bad boy until I have dialed in how to fish it. And this particular lure by Yamamoto has been my unconfidence lure for about a month now, but man, I feel really good about it now. And now that I do, I figured I'd share it with you how to have some success with it. Another way I love fishing this bad boy is in heavy cover. I've caught a lot of fish by just throwing it whenever you got an old tree. All it is limbs, all the leaves are gone. And I'll throw it in the hole, and this thing that kind of floats down like this is his tail. It's a lot slower than if you were to throw a jig in there. You know, a weighted jig, just kind of go to the bottom and you kind of pop it. This thing has a nice slow fall and is keeping in what I like as a strike zone and feel really confident in. So definitely we're pulling this bad boy out in a lot of heavy cover. I'm actually really impressed by how versatile this bait is. All right, a little pro tip here. If you really want these baits to last as long as possible, a lot of times the night before whenever I'm pre-rigging my baits, just put a little super glue on this offset bend right here, and it might get you maybe a couple extra fish before it rips out. It's eventually gonna rip out, but a little bit of super glue will go a long way and just get a couple extra fish out of it. Hey, why not? Super glue is really cheap. Also, I don't have a lot of smallmouth around me, but I know this is also, I've heard a lot of stories and read a lot of research that this is a smallmouth slayer as well. All right, another lure I like to throw in the lily pads right here is the pop frogs from Z-Man, this guy right here. I'm gonna show you how I rig it up and how I fish it in this video right here.